Hey friends, my name is Cal Ellerby. I am the disciple-making catalyst for NEWChurch, the church planting initiative of the Apostolic Church of Pentecost. We are going to, over the next few weeks, explore the stories of a number of people who have been walking together with us in the Living Like a Missionary Challenge. So welcome. Let's get right to it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to NEWChurch Podcast again. And I'm pretty pleased to have my brother Marlon, and he'll give his last name to you so he can prove that we're actually from the same parents, even though behavior may not necessarily reflect that. I always say Marlon's my comic relief. Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's good. So tell me a little bit about yourself and why you ended up, first of all, maybe how you found out about the missionary pathway training and why you decided to be a part of it.
Marlon Smith is my name. Sorry, it is Ellerby. So I heard about it from you. I've always had ever since I went to Bible school when I was a kid, like in Shiloh in the States, I've always had a heart for missions because we went to Jamaica and did the missionary thing then. Anyways, it's always been on my heart. I believe in that God, in every conversation with whoever you're talking to gives you a chance. Yeah. And so I believe that there's an opening or a crack in the conversation where you can put God into it and put Jesus into it and talk to whoever you're talking about. If I miss talking to Darcy, I'll use his name. Nobody knows Darcy, but whatever. Darcy's a good friend of mine. If I'm visiting with him at coffee or we're doing a business deal together or whatever, and there's a crack in that opening that I can bring God into it, I try to do that. But if I miss it, then I think, crap, I had a chance to actually, spread the gospel a little bit further with him because I want to see them get saved. We have the Blessed Five. I have about 5 or 6 or 7 guys, including my kids, that I pray for daily. Anyways, when I talked to you originally about this, about missionaries, it's our mandate from God. That's what we're here to do. There's nothing else more important in the world, in God's eyes, than me telling you about him. There isn't.
Yeah. No.
So it was kind of cool when I first heard about it, and I thought, you know what, I'll do that. And then when we did it, we had a good group, small group. We had we had good guys in it.
So when you actually stepped up and said, okay, count me in, what did you expect? Like, did you have any preconceived ideas or expectations? What were you hoping to accomplish?
You know what? I don't know. I don't think there was anything really sticking out in my mind that I wanted to accomplish. I think more than anything, it was I enjoy talking about Jesus. And I especially enjoy talking about Jesus with people that don't know Jesus.
Yeah.
So I thought if this would give me another step or another step-by-step or, that I can use to introduce Jesus into a conversation or introduce Jesus into their life, then that's what I want.
Yeah. Overall, did it meet those expectations? Like, were you satisfied with the experience?
I think it was absolutely. I looked forward to it.
I ask everybody this question mostly because I find it somewhat amusing when people respond. But so is the people in your group relatively normal?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was good. And
which was the brilliance of the groups, right? It's like we've got everybody from every walk of life, from every end of the country, every gender, every age group. Like, I agree with you. Like, I just find that to be so, I don't even, it's like it broadens the whole perspective to the place of where you really get significant different views.
I was sitting there was it Mondays we did it? Whatever. I was sitting there the one time, and I can't remember if it was which guy I was talking about his blessed five. And I thought to myself, I couldn't reach those guys.
Right.
Because they're not attracted to that guy's personality, but that guy's personality fits better with them. The guys my personality fit to are totally different than the guys they fit to. And God made us like that, I think.
Which is the brilliance of the whole idea. We have been conditioned to believe that there's one guy who stands at the front of a place and talks, and everybody's supposed to learn from that guy, which, I mean, there's value in that, obviously. But in reality, I could never connect with the people you connect with.
No,
he's designed it in such a way to put us in the context that he's put us in for the purpose of bringing the love of Christ to that particular segment. And that's why we challenge people to think smaller rather than bigger.
Yeah, I have one. I'll just tell you quick. I have one friend that golfs with us. He didn't golf last year because whatever. This year he's back on the team, and he golfs with us every Wednesday. So he's so excited. He texts me about every 30 seconds. Can't wait to get on the course and see everybody because he missed last year.
Right.
But he is 57 years old. I think he's 57. He's a stoner, like loaded. From the moment he drives into the parking lot till the moment he leaves, he's stoned. And I asked him the other day when we were talking a little bit, I had asked him, when you come out or whatever, we can ride together or whatever. I haven't had a chance yet to talk to him about Jesus, but if I ever quit fooling around and quit joking around and get serious with him, like when we're talking, because I had actually he was one of the oil businesses that he was thinking of selling, and then he decided not to sell. But I was the broker for that deal. When I get serious with him, he just gives you all of his attention, all of his focus is on me talking. So I know guys like that would, if I said to him, his name's Tony. If I said to him, Tony, you need Jesus, and this is why. I know he's going to listen to me. So as we ride together this summer, once I get back being able to golf again, because I can talk to him about Jesus and he doesn't get mad, I don't want to be in that comfort zone. Right. I want to step out, get into this car with Tony, and see what kind of response I get if I do say. Yeah. Because God gives you an opening.
Which is so cool because we actually begin to identify those people as people whom God has put us in their context. And so we start to pray for them, not because we're trying to conjure something, but because God's put us there for a reason. Therefore, we're going to begin to pray specifically for them so that God will continue to do that which he began, and we get to be a part of it. I just love that. I think it's so cool. So in the course, one of the big shifts in how we do stuff is this getting away from a lecture thing. Like, somebody's going to teach me something. I'm going to sit in and listen to somebody talk. Did you feel like a spectator or a player?
Player.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned about you is and you said it on the first one, that awkward silence doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
If you can get the other person to talk, they're going to speak their heart. So that's one thing that I learned about you is that, we'll just sit here in quiet until somebody answers. Yeah, it was everybody participated. Everybody.
I think that's important for people who are listening even to understand that this is not a lecture. This isn't follow my points or, we're going to watch a video and then I'm going to talk about it. This is a conversation around principles that equip us to be missional living. So of the whole thing and every session that I do in this, I restate the 5 things. So there was learning to be very intentional with extraordinary prayer and fasting, learning to listen. Number 2 is learning to live like a missionary. In other words, we learn to serve and tell our story and all that kind of stuff. 3 is planting the gospel, where we use the Discovery Bible Study System to be able to share the basic biblical framework for conversation. And then forming spiritual families, turning those conversations into groups of more than just one-on-one, and then multiplication. So we went 7 weeks or 8 weeks, I can't remember which, and I think you were on most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
Tell me which sort of 1 or 2 things were takeaways for you that were maybe something you hadn't focused on in the past. Like, what were a couple of the favorite things that were helpful for you?
Well, the number one thing is that I believe that revelation, if that's what you want to call it, came out of those classes or that course, is that God gives everyone an opportunity to speak about him in every conversation every day, regardless where you are. This was a small group, but it was stories, it was conversation, it wasn't, here we're going to take this, somebody sitting there leading the group. It wasn't like that. And so the first thing is God gives everybody a chance to talk about himself in every conversation. So that is the major one that I got. The second thing I got out of it is how I'm not the only one that struggles about, okay, is it now? Do I start talking about God now?
Yeah.
Or, do I have the courage to walk up to Tony, who's loaded, and say, this? So it was kind of cool to listen to Dave and his openings of, trying to talk to his friends or whatever. It was really cool with Chris, because Chris would, it was more a relaxed approach Chris had. He wasn't in your face immediately. It was more of a, how Chris was. And even with, yes,
Doreen.
her heart's in the health, because that's what she did for her whole life. And, I just got out of the hospital. And while I was in there, I kept thinking about her, asking me if any of the nurses or caregivers or whatever, was there ever a chance to speak about the gospel. And as I laid there in the hospital, it was kind of cool, to think, okay, there's an opening, take it. And I did one night. In the middle of the night, they were changing my dressing and taking my blood. And the lady was a East Indian lady doing it for me. And so I just was kind of, we were talking, and she was doing all this in the middle of the night, talking. And
Well, it's cool though, because most of us, until we have some kind of a framework and a pathway, we haven't thought about it. It's like,
no.
you know what I mean? Like you just live life, and people come and people go, but when you start to actually think missionally, you start to be aware of the fact that, God has placed me in this environment, in this circumstance, this situation for a reason. And so I don't know if having open heart surgery is a great reason to that's a bit of an extreme extent to go to, just to share the gospel with somebody. But well, I got to admire your commitment. There's no question about that.
I took it voluntarily. There's actually nothing wrong with my heart.
Yeah, just go ahead and cut me open so I can talk to the nurse. But it's cool because it makes us aware. It helps us to be aware that God has placed us in the context that we're in for a reason, or at least an opportunity to partner with what he's already doing, right?
Yeah.
So cool. So just talk to me for a second about a couple of different tools that were given to us. One was the frog thing, friends, recreation, occupation, goals, and gifts. Like, I don't know if I mean, you're a conversationalist, so it's not hard for you to enter into conversations with people. But the idea of having a process of going from casual conversation to a meaningful conversation to a spiritual conversation, have you got any thoughts about that? Like, did you see that as being a practical and applicable pathway?
Yes. I absolutely love those type of conversations where they go from goofing around to stop, get serious, and then talk about the Lord.
Yeah.
Like that time with my buddy there down south in the clubhouse after we golfed, and he's very devout Catholic. We were just fooling around and talking about he told me that I had to convert to Catholicism. I says, I don't even know how to spell that. I'm not doing it. So, oh, and so that, we're fooling around, but then it got serious and we were able to talk, and I shared what I believe the grace of God is. And
Well,
so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I thrive on those type of conversations. I love
yeah.
them.
So, was there any kind of shift in how you think yourself? Like any kind of um, maybe about the church or about even yourself personally and God's call in your life, or your was there any kind of revelatory things about evangelism, maybe, or the potential of becoming more effective as a disciple maker? What kind of changes happened in your own thinking that you didn't anticipate?
The number one thing, and I go back to this, our whole conversation here, even with Janet, my wife, the whole thing that come out of this thing is watch for opportunity. Continue to be aware that there are opportunities, regardless who you're with. And that came out of that course. I believe that missions is God's number one priority.
So it's been a few weeks since our cohort with you wrapped up, and you've had a couple of distractions happen since then.
They've been
Yeah, just
distractions.
yeah, distractions that kind of threw you off the course. Um, has that stuck? Like, I guess what I'm wondering about is that a God thing? Because when God does something in us, we never go back. It's like once you see, you can't unsee, sort of a thing. So would you consider that to have been a revelation that was a God-inspired thing that you've maintained awareness of it since?
Guaranteed. I don't think that way. But it hit me, and then it hit me last night laying in bed again when I was thinking about thinking about this thing this morning, and thinking about the course, and not course, but the whole experience of the
Yeah.
people that were in it, whatever. God showed me we have to take advantage of the opportunity.
So talk to me about your Blessed Five. You don't have to use names, but I'm curious to know how you. Let me frame this a little bit, because what I've discovered in talking with people and going through the process with so many for so long now, is that we often start with sort of a list, but we come across people who actually go, I think maybe God has put me connected to this person for a reason. Like, I didn't know them, I didn't know that they would be that person of peace. But so I want to know two things. One is how you sort of arrived at your Blessed Five, and kind of a little bit about those people, because I think it's helpful for people to understand how to get to that place. One of the gals that I just talked to and interviewed, I said, tell me about your Blessed Five. She immediately goes, I have 10. and
Oh,
and then other people go, five's too many. I only have two, whatever. So I don't care about the number. What I am interested in is how you landed on those names. And then since then, now, like I say, you've had a few distractions, but have you had encounters with people you go, you know what, I think that particular person might just very well be a person of peace, and that if I press into this relationship or this conversation a bit, I may get to be a part of something that God's doing. So two sides to that, but basically I'm interested in knowing about your list.
Well, I mean, you know me good enough that one of my main things that I do for social activities is golf. So I golf every Wednesday. We golf from noon till 9 o'clock, till dark, 9:30. And we have supper together. We have, we just goof around for 10, 12 hours a day, every week, once a week. So those guys, those particular two guys, I guess that's in my blessed five in there, there are three, two for sure, Robbie and Gub. But I mean, yeah, they're just friends, good friends of mine. And then the other one's a client that we buy and sell from each other both ways. But he's a good friend. He's become a really good friend, and he's got prostate cancer, and he needs the Lord before he dies. And he knows that. I told him that, and he agrees. So I just continue to pray for him. And then my car salesman buddy that I've known for 25 years, you can't get a better guy. And all he talks about is there's a power out there. There's a power out there. There's an ultimate being out there somewhere. Never says God, never says, but you explained to me he came through the Alcoholic
And he's an
Anonymous group.
AA graduate, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what you said. And then the last guy, he worked for us for 5 years, 6, 7 years, however long Chad was with us. Same thing. I know there's an ultimate being out there. I know that there's, but he never says God. He never says Jesus. And I want those guys to, if they believe that there's an ultimate being, I want to introduce them to the right. Yeah, I have tremendous friendships with these guys, and God put them on my heart. Those particular five, and then I just have a heart for them. I want to see them not
so
die. We're all getting
old. What's that?
And I say we're all getting older, and I just had heart surgery. So how much time do we got left?
Right.
10, 15 years? We're closer to the end than the beginning, I'll tell you that. So
I think that you've learned some things that are really not necessarily to-dos or tools or whatever, even though I think some of those you have, but it has shaped much of how you view, I can tell just by talking with you, it has shaped much of how you do life with those people. So just talk to me about how you're applying maybe the prayer principles.
Yeah, I mean, you think that like I pray at night. I'm not a good prayer warrior in the morning. I'm not, but when I lay down before I go to sleep, I'll spend 20 minutes, half an hour, or whatever of deep conversation with God and what the things that are going on in my family's world and the things that are going on for my blessed five. And I've talked to a couple of them already about coming to the house, coming to our place. And just, if you want to bring your wives, bring your wives. I don't care, but we're just going to sit down, just basically what you did. Sit down, we'll take a passage of scripture, we'll read it, and then we'll have a conversation about it. We'll have supper, we'll barbecue, we'll do whatever. But just try and start some sort of a relationship between themselves and God. And I believe that the word will do that. Right.
Oh, well, it'll happen. I mean, you have been friends with these guys for years. Some of them for, like you say, with Bert for 25 or 30 years. Talk to me about him and his daughter. And again, you don't have to use names and all of this, but that's a fascinating thing, which I believe is consistent with how God orchestrates people's journeys towards himself.
Guaranteed. So he has 4 daughters. The one's a set of twins. The twins have moved to Greater Vancouver, or to the Whistler. Is that Vancouver?
Yeah.
Is that the mountain out there? Anyways, That's the one. And she's partied since she was 14 years old, as hard as you can imagine. Janis Joplin type partying, and done this forever. She's worked at different seasonal jobs out there, whatever. She's not married. She's as cute as a button. She's just a great girl, but she has done some major serious drugs and major serious drinking and partying. She got saved through some guy on the hill, on the mountain, in just talking to her. She got saved. Now she's talking to him. And he's going, well, Amy goes, I say, well, I can't dispute that. There's something there, and there's a greater being there. Good for you, and that's something that you need to, to help you with your life. And she's going, Dad, this isn't so I don't do drugs. This is a relationship with God.
Yeah, so beautiful.
It's huge.
So, which is such an interesting thing, because when we start to pray into these situations, the reality that I want people to understand is that we're not getting God to help us with something that we're doing. It's how do we partner with what God is already doing? Exactly. And he will use whatever is necessary in his pursuit of somebody's life. And I think when you told me that story, I thought that is so, because I can repeat that story over and over and over again, as not only in my own journey, but as people have told me their stories, that what happened? I found out that this person I've been praying for met somebody who was really instrumental and influential in their life in a way that I could never be. And now they're finding themselves even closer to Jesus. That's just an incredible, incredible thing to watch. And so when we learn to listen and pray into these situations intentionally with extraordinary prayer and fasting, we can be assured and confident that God is going to do something that we can't do ourselves. And that's such a great story. So what about the Discovery Bible Study approach to things? Tell me what you thought about that and how that may or may not be useful in your Blessed Five relationships. We take a scripture, we ask 4 questions. What does it say to you about God? What does it say to you about people? What does it say to you about yourself? And who are you going to share it with?
But yeah, it's something that particular. That's where, well, besides you before this thing, but that's what I want to do with these guys. I want to get these guys at my house, and I don't want to bring them in under false pretense that we're going to come and barbecue and watch a ball game and you're going to go home. I've told 2 of them, this is my motivation for doing this. You're welcome to come, or if you don't want to stay for that part, you don't have to stay for that part. And then with the other 3, the one guy, he is as union socialist that I don't know if I'll ever get through to him. I'll probably kill him before I get through to him. But I'm going to try. Those ones are the ones that I like to talk to because he laughed at me. Even my 6th guy, who when I said to him after his wife passed, they said, well, she hadn't passed yet, and he was here. I said, I'm really praying for you guys. And he just looked at me and went, oh, yeah, thanks. You know what I mean? You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. And those guys are the ones, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Yeah. If I can, continue to do that. So I'm going to ask him, come to the house.
And you know what? I think that you made a really strong point we can't do bait and switches on guys. We just need to be honest and say, we're going to talk about the Bible. I don't think using the word Bible study is a good idea because it has, misconceptions in people's mind as to what that means. But if we can say, look, we're going to talk about the Bible. In other words, that means you're going to talk about it as well as me. Exactly. That allows for us to have a conversation around their opinions and their perceptions more than me trying to convince them of something. Yeah, we did that with our house churches started off by saying to my neighbors, I want you to come for supper. We're going to eat at 6:30, but at 7:15, we're going to talk about the Bible, and you're free to leave at that point if you want. But that's what we're going to do. None of them left. A couple of them brought some family Bibles, hardly fit in the back of my half ton, but they were, and had never been opened.
Yeah.
But they brought them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But what that says has more to do with relationship than it does with activity, right? They trusted us because we had been friends with them for quite a while. Out of this, my challenge to you is that you would be praying that God would give you your own spiritual family, so to speak. That this whole idea of having microchurch or whatever is really just a gathering of a spiritual family that has been built around the assembly of God putting the people in our network together, that in a way that we can walk together. That's what discipleship is. We're learning to walk together, not trying to enforce something or impose something, but we're just learning to walk together, and that Jesus is trustworthy. The scriptures are trustworthy. The Bible is our blueprint for life. So before we finish, any encouragements or thoughts for anybody else, and could you recommend it to others to be a part of?
Here's my thoughts on that whole 8 weeks. In Bible times, those guys were cut in half or stoned or tortured or killed for speaking
Right.
Jesus. Here we are 2,000 years later, or however long it's been later. We live the most comfortable lives of anybody. We have zero persecution. We have zero anything against us. So if anybody in the world and the whole of earth should be preaching Jesus and should be a missionary, it should be us. Because we have no accountability. We have nothing coming back on us because we did that. But right now, the way it stands, no. So I think that course taught me, number one, opportunity. Number two, take that opportunity. And number three, step out. What's worse that can happen? No. I'm a salesman. If I didn't know how to handle the word no, I'd have starved to death. Yeah, this is the course I recommend anybody and everybody, because if you're a Christian, because God's number one mandate is go and preach the gospel.
I really do appreciate your insights and I love the humor, but I appreciate your perspective because I know you so well, and I know that there has been some clarity, I maybe is the right word, around mission and around what does God want to do with you and how is he going to use you and what has he got for the future and all of that kind of stuff. I just think it's so cool. So thanks. Anyways, so Lord bless Marlon. Just as an invitation, if you're interested in participating in the next cohort of Living Like a Missionary, please contact me at cal@acop.ca. We'll give you the information as to when the new ones are going to be coming on board, and we'd love to see you equipped to be the vessel and vehicle that God has chosen to use within the context that he has placed you to change the lives of those who God is already touching. Blessings on you.